I was wiping the counter when the message came through, short and sharp like everything else in my life had become. Wedding. This weekend. I need a date. No greeting. No explanation. Just an order disguised as a request. I stared at the phone longer than I should have, the cafe's hum fading into the background. Outside, Barcelona moved like it always did, sunlit, loud, careless. Inside me something tightened. I already knew who it was before I opened the message fully. Mateo Alvarez didn't text people. He summoned them. I had met him once before months ago on a night I tried very hard to forget. He had walked into this same cafe after closing hours, dark coat, darker eyes, carrying silence like a weapon. He hadn't threatened me. He hadn't needed to. His presence alone had rearranged the air. And now he needed a date. I typed back the only honest question I could manage. Why me? The reply came instantly. Because you aren't part of my world. That should have been my answer too. I should have said no. I should have blocked the number, locked the door, pretended I'd never seen his face or learned his name. But curiosity is a dangerous thing, especially when paired with fear. It's just a wedding, he sent next. My sister's. One weekend. Appearances matter. Appearances. I knew enough to understand what that meant. In his world, being alone was a weakness. Being questioned was worse. And after? I asked. After you walk away. Simple. Clean. Unrealistic. I agreed to meet him the next evening, telling myself I just wanted clarity. Telling myself I was still in control. That lie lasted exactly 12 hours. Mateo chose a private room in a quiet restaurant overlooking the harbor. When I arrived, he was already there, seated with his back to the wall, eyes tracking every movement. He stood when he saw me, not out of politeness but habit. You look different in daylight, he said. So do you, I replied, surprising us both. A flicker of something, amusement maybe, crossed his face before it vanished. He gestured for me to sit. This is straightforward, he began. You attend my sister's wedding with me. You smile. You hold my hand when appropriate. You answer questions vaguely. And if someone asks how we met? At a charity event, he said without hesitation. Madrid. I raised an eyebrow. We met in a cafe after closing. That version invites curiosity. So does this, I said, motioning between us. His mouth tightened, but he nodded. Fair. He explained the rules next. No personal questions. No wandering alone. No social media. At the end of the weekend we part ways. He would compensate me generously. That's not why I'm here, I said. I know, he replied. That's why I asked you. There it was again, that unsettling sense of being seen too clearly by a man who lived on secrecy. I should have felt flattered. Instead I felt exposed. What happens if I say no? I asked quietly. He didn't answer right away. His gaze drifted to the window, to the boats rocking gently below. Then I find someone else, he said. But I would rather it be you. Something in his voice shifted just slightly. Not softness. Not need. Something closer to caution. Why is this wedding such a problem? I pressed. He met my eyes. Because my family believes marriage fixes men like me. Men like him. Dangerous men. Broken men. I leaned back, heart beating faster than it should. And does it? No, he said. It gives them leverage. Silence settled between us, thick and uncomfortable. I thought of my quiet apartment. My predictable routines. The safety I'd built by staying invisible. Then I thought of the way his sister would look at him on her wedding day, expecting him to belong somewhere he never truly had. If I do this, I said slowly, I don't pretend to be someone I'm not. Pause. Then a nod. Good. I don't want an actress. We finalized details quickly after that. Travel. Clothes. Names to remember. When he stood to leave, he hesitated, hand hovering near mine before withdrawing. This weekend, he said, nothing that happens leaves that wedding. I watched him walk away, aware that I'd already broken the rule by agreeing. Later that night, alone in my apartment, I replayed everything. The control in his voice. The loneliness behind it. The danger I was pretending not to see. If you've ever said yes to something knowing it would change you, just not how, then you understand why I didn't sleep at all. By morning my bag was packed. And somewhere between the cafe and the harbor, I realized I wasn't just going to a wedding. I was stepping into a man's carefully guarded life, Invited not because he trusted me, but because he didn't trust anyone else. The driver arrived before dawn. The car was black, quiet, and expensive in a way that didn't try to impress. The man behind the wheel didn't speak. He only opened the door, waited for me to slide in, and pulled away like my time already belonged to someone else. Barcelona blurred past tinted windows. Mateo sat beside me, composed in a charcoal suit that made him look untouchable. No phone. No music. Just that alert silence that made even the streetlights feel watched. "Are you nervous?" he asked. "Yes," I admitted. "Are you?" "No," he said, then corrected himself. "I'm irritated." "By what?" "By the fact that I have to explain myself to people who love me." We left the city and climbed toward the countryside. Olive groves, stone walls, villages waking slowly. The air smelled cleaner, softer, like it didn't know what violence was. The estate appeared around a final bend. White stone, balconies, a courtyard dressed in ribbons and flowers. Staff moved with trays and laughter. Music drifted from inside. It looked like a place built for joy. Mateo's presence still changed everything. Conversations dipped. Smiles tightened. People straightened as if his shadow carried rules. At the car door he leaned close. "Stay near me," he said. "Let me speak first." I nodded and he offered his arm. The contact was small, fabric against my fingers, the firm curve of his forearm, but it sent a jolt through me. Not attraction exactly. Awareness. The kind that comes from knowing one wrong step could ripple outward. We walked into the courtyard together. A woman in a pale dress hurried toward us, joy in her eyes and nerves in her hands. He didn't hesitate. She wrapped her arms around Mateo and held tight. "Finally," she breathed. "I thought you'd skip your own sister's wedding." Mateo's posture softened by a fraction. "I'm here, Lucia." Lucia pulled back and looked at me like she was trying to place my face in a memory. "And you are?" Mateo's hand settled at my waist, light but claiming. "This is Elena," he said smoothly. "She's with me." "With you," Lucia repeated, blinking fast. Then she smiled, quick and bright. "Thank God. I was starting to think you'd die alone out of spite." Mateo's mouth twitched. "It's possible." Lucia laughed, then took my hands in hers. "I'm sorry. I'm not interrogating you, I promise. Just, Mateo doesn't bring people home." "I'm happy to meet you," I said. "Good," Lucia said. "Because I need allies." She glanced at her brother. "Don't scare her." Mateo didn't answer, but his eyes met mine and something passed there, an unspoken warning that I'd already noticed too much. Inside the house was alive with family. Women in elegant dresses, men in linen suits, children darting between legs like sparrows. The smell of bread and roasted peppers filled the hallways, mixed with perfume and polished wood. Every room we entered, heads turned. Not toward me, toward him. Toward the feared name that hovered even in a place full of love. An older woman stood near the staircase, watching with the steady gaze of someone who had raised storms and survived them. Her silver hair was pinned neatly. Her earrings caught the light like tiny knives. Lucia's smile dimmed. "Mama," she said. Mateo's body stiffened. His mother looked at him first, then at me. Her expression didn't change, but I felt the weight of it settle on my skin. "So," she said, calm as a judge. "You came." "I said I would," Mateo replied. "And you brought a guest," she added, eyes on me. "How considerate." Mateo's hand slid from my waist to my back, guiding me forward. "This is Elena." His mother studied me like she was reading a document she didn't trust. "Elena," she repeated. "What do you do?" Mateo's jaw tightened, just a flash. "I manage a cafe in Barcelona," I answered. "A cafe," she echoed. "Yes." A pause stretched long enough to sting. Then she nodded once, as if filing me into a category. "Work is honest," she said, though it sounded less like approval and more like a test. Lucia stepped in, voice too bright. "Mama, not today. It's my wedding weekend." "I'm not starting anything," her mother replied. "I'm only observing." She looked at Mateo. "You will attend the rehearsal dinner. You will take photos. You will be present." Mateo's voice stayed steady. "I'm present." "Good," she said. "Because people are watching." Lucia dragged me upstairs before I could overthink it. A guest room waited with fresh linens and a dress box on the bed. He sent options, she said, opening it like a secret. Inside were 2 gowns, one deep green, one soft gold, both too elegant for someone who usually smelled like espresso. He does this, Lucia murmured, adjusting the fabric against my shoulder. He solves problems with money because it's safer than feelings. Downstairs, a cousin stopped us in the hallway, eyes sharp. New girlfriend? He asked Matteo loudly, smiling without warmth. Matteo's arm slid around my waist again, tighter this time. Yes, he said, and his tone ended the conversation. The cousin lifted his hands, backing off, but his gaze stayed on me like a measurement. When Matteo finally looked at me, it wasn't a warning. It was a question. Can you handle this today? As we moved away, I leaned closer to Matteo. Your mother thinks I'm a distraction. She thinks everyone is a threat, he said. And what do you think? He looked down at me, eyes unreadable. I think you're brave, he said quietly. Or reckless. Is there a difference? His gaze flicked to my mouth for half a second, then away. There is, he said. But you won't know which one you are until it's too late. The words should have chilled me. Instead they clarified something. Matteo wasn't afraid of losing face. He was afraid of losing control. And if I played this role too well, I might become the one thing he couldn't command. The rehearsal dinner unfolded beneath strings of warm lights, long tables dressed in linen and laughter. Wine flowed easily. Stories followed. I watched Matteo from beside him, noticing how he listened more than he spoke, how his eyes tracked the room even while his body appeared relaxed. It was the first time I saw him surrounded by people who loved him without fear. Lucia clinked her glass and stood, cheeks flushed. To family, she said, voice trembling. To the ones who stay. And to my brother, who pretends he doesn't care but always does. Applause rose. Matteo nodded once, accepting the attention like a sentence already served. Later, when music softened and plates were cleared, we escaped to the terrace. The night air was cool, scented with jasmine and distant sea salt. From here, the estate looked peaceful enough to forget what he represented. You're quieter than usual, I said. I'm tired, he replied. Of what? Of being watched, he said, then corrected himself. Of watching. I leaned on the stone railing. You don't trust anyone here? I trust them, he said. I just don't belong. The admission landed heavier than any threat he'd made before. A group of children ran past us, laughing, one of them tugging at Matteo's jacket. Uncle Matteo, watch. The boy leapt off a low step and landed badly, wobbling. Matteo was there instantly, hands steadying him, voice low and reassuring. Slow down, he said. You're not indestructible. The boy grinned. You are. Matteo smiled, actually smiled, and my chest tightened at the sight of it. When the children were gone, he stared at his hands like he'd revealed something by accident. I don't come here often, he said. It's easier if I don't. For who? For them, he said. And for me. We walked along the edge of the property until the noise faded. The stars were sharp above us, unapologetic in their brightness. You didn't tell me how you ended up like this, I said gently. Like what? Carrying a name people are afraid to say. He exhaled slowly. My father taught me 2 things early. Loyalty keeps you alive. Love makes you careless. Do you believe that? I believed it, he said. For a long time. And now. He hesitated. How I don't know. I studied his profile, the scar near his jaw, the lines earned young. You don't seem careless. That's because I'm practiced, he said. Not because I'm immune. We stopped near a low wall overlooking the dark fields. For the first time since I'd met him, Matteo looked unsure. I didn't ask you here because you're invisible, he said. I asked because you're steady. Steady people can still leave, I said. Yes, he agreed. That's the risk. A laugh drifted from inside. Music swelled again. The world continued without us. If this gets uncomfortable, he said, you can go home. That wasn't the deal. The deal can change. I turned to face him. Are you asking me to leave? No, he said quickly, then caught himself. I'm giving you an exit. Why? Because I don't give exits, he said. And that bothers me. The honesty startled me. You don't have to protect me. I know, he said. I want to. Something in my expression must have shifted because he took a step back. That wasn't. It's okay, I said. I understand. He studied me, searching for something. Permission maybe. Or warning. A soft pause settled between us. If this moment stirred something in you, quiet, unexpected, let it breathe. Some feelings don't need applause to be real. We returned to the house together, closer than before but not touching. His mother intercepted us near the staircase. You disappear easily, she said to him. I needed air. She looked at me. And you? I was listening, I said. Her gaze sharpened. To what? To what matters, I replied. A beat. Then she inclined her head. Good. My son talks too little. She moved on, leaving behind the faintest hint of approval or a warning. Upstairs, in the guest room, I stood before the mirror in the green dress. It fit perfectly. That unsettled me. Matteo knocked once, then waited. I should sleep, he said through the door. Tomorrow is long. Good night, I replied. Good night, Elena. He paused. Thank you. For what? For seeing me, he said quietly. Not the name. After he left, I sat on the edge of the bed, heart steady, thoughts loud. The role was changing. The rules were thinning. I realized then that the danger wasn't his world bleeding into mine. It was mine slipping under his armor. And once you know the man behind the name, you can never pretend he's just a role again. The wedding morning arrived wrapped in sunlight and tension. Bells rang from the small chapel near the estate, their sound bright and innocent, as if unaware of the lives gathered beneath them. I woke early, already dressed in thoughts I couldn't untangle. Downstairs, the house buzzed with preparation. Voices overlapped. Dresses rustled. Someone laughed too loudly. Matteo stood near the window in a dark suit, phone pressed to his ear, shoulders rigid. Yes, he said quietly. I understand. Pause. No. Not today. He ended the call and slipped the phone into his pocket as if it were something sharp. When he turned, his eyes found me instantly. You shouldn't be alone today, he said. I won't be, I replied. Your family seems very efficient. That's not what I meant. Before I could ask, Lucia swept in, radiant and breathless. Photos in 20 minutes, she announced. Then she hugged me. Thank you for being here. I know this isn't your world. I'm starting to see that, I said softly. Matteo watched us with an expression I couldn't read. Pride, fear, or something dangerously close to attachment. The ceremony passed in a blur of vows and music. Matteo stood beside me, hand warm at my back, steady but alert. I noticed the men at the edge of the crowd, dressed too formally for guests, eyes scanning rather than celebrating. Matteo noticed them too. At the reception, he leaned close. If I say it's time to leave, you don't argue. My smile stayed in place. Is that part of the role? No, he said. That's real. Wine glasses clinked. Toasts were made. Lucia cried. For a moment, joy drowned everything else. Then Matteo's phone vibrated again. He didn't look at it. Instead, he shifted so his body blocked me from the room. Stay here, he murmured, already stepping away. I should have listened. I didn't. I followed him down the side corridor, stopping just short of the open door where voices slipped through. It's a problem, a man said. She's noticed. Matteo's voice stayed controlled. She's not involved. She's close, the man pressed. That makes her leverage. My stomach dropped. No, Matteo said sharp now. She's off limits. A pause heavy enough to bruise. Nothing is off limits, the man replied. I stepped back before they could see me, pulse roaring in my ears. Leverage. Off limits. Words that belonged to his world, not mine. I returned to the reception, every smile suddenly feeling like camouflage. Matteo found me minutes later. His expression changed the instant he saw my face. You heard, he said. Enough, I replied. Enough to know this isn't just about a wedding. He glanced around, then guided me outside to the garden. The music dulled behind us. I should have kept you away, he said. You gave me an exit, I reminded him. I didn't take it. That was before, he said. Before they noticed. They? I asked. People who measure weakness, he said. And exploit it. I crossed my arms, grounding myself. So what now? Now, he said carefully, you stay visible. Close to me. That's the safest place. And after today? His silence answered for him. Matteo, I said, voice steady despite the fear curling inside me, you don't get to decide my safety alone. His jaw clenched. I don't want to decide anything for you. But you do, I said. Because that's how you survive. A flicker of pain crossed his face. And how do you? By choosing, I said. Even when it's terrifying. He looked away, breathing slow and controlled. I can't protect you from everything. I'm not asking you to, I said. I'm asking you not to disappear behind decisions I don't understand. A shout rose from inside. Laughter, oblivious and bright. They won't touch you today, he said finally. Not here. Not with my family watching. And tomorrow? He met my eyes. Tomorrow is the problem. The rest of the evening passed under a fragile truce. We danced once, carefully, his hand firm at my waist, his attention split between me and the room. Every touch felt heavier now, weighted with consequence. When the reception ended, Matteo escorted me upstairs himself. At my door he hesitated. You should lock this, he said. If anyone knocks, don't answer unless it's me. That's not reassuring. I know, he said. But it's honest. I watched him walk away, the corridor swallowing him piece by piece. Alone, I sat on the bed, shoes discarded, dress pooling around me like a question mark. I thought about the man I'd seen with the children, with his sister, with me. And the man who spoke of leverage like it was weather. Midway through the night my phone buzzed. I'm outside, Matteo texted. Are you awake? I opened the door before fear could argue. He stood there, jacket off, tie loosened, control visibly frayed. I can't do this, he said quietly. Not the pretending. Neither can I replied. He stepped closer, stopping just short of touching me. Being near you makes everything louder. Then say it, I said. Whatever it is you're not supposed to feel. His voice dropped. If they think I care, they'll use you. And if you don't? I asked. Then I lose you anyway, he said. The truth hung between us, sharp and undeniable. Love hadn't softened him. It had exposed him. And in his world, exposure was the most dangerous thing of all. Matteo stayed in the doorway, like crossing it would turn tonight into something permanent. The hallway light cut across his face. His eyes were steady, but his hands weren't. Tell me, I said. What happened? He shut the door softly. They noticed you, he answered. The ones who look for leverage. My stomach dropped. Because I'm here? Because you're near me, he said. And because I brought you where my life is visible. Who are they? A rival who can't fight me directly, Matteo said. So he hunts for the one thing I won't sacrifice. I gave a short, bitter laugh. That implies you have one. His gaze held mine. I didn't, he said. Until now. A knock sounded, polite, controlled. Matteo moved between me and the door. Matteo? A man called in Spanish. Security at the gate. Someone's asking for you. Matteo didn't open it. Tell them I'm coming. The footsteps retreated. The house returned to its wedding music, as if nothing dangerous could exist under ribbons and lights. Matteo turned back to me. This is the test, he said. He wants to see if I react. To what? To you, he said, and the word sounded like a liability. I crossed my arms. What do you want me to do? Stay inside, he said. Lock the door. If anyone knocks again, you don't answer unless it's me. So I'm hidden, I snapped. You're protected, he corrected sharp. There's a difference. And your plan is to pass by acting like I don't matter. His expression flickered, pain then control. Yes, he said. I'll be cruel if I have to. The honesty hit harder than a lie. You'd humiliate me. I'd burn my own name if it kept you breathing, Matteo said. Do you understand? I did. That was the terrifying part. He stepped closer, voice lower. In my world, love is a location. Once someone finds it, they aim. Then don't aim me at myself, I said. Don't protect me by breaking me. For a moment he looked almost young, tired, human, trapped in a role he'd survived too long. He reached out, stopped, then let his hand fall. Whatever you hear tonight, he said, don't believe my words. Believe my choices. Then he left. I tried to stay in the room like he ordered. I lasted less than a minute. My thoughts kept circling the same truth. If love was a location, locking me away didn't move it. He just made it easier to strike. So I moved. I slipped down the stairs, keeping to the shadows. The courtyard still glowed. Guests laughed softly, unaware. At the open gate, a black sedan idled like it belonged there. Two men stood beside it. One wore a perfect suit and an easy smile. The other stood behind him, silent and watchful. Mateo approached alone. "Mateo Alvarez," the suited man called. "Congratulations. Beautiful wedding." Very soft. Mateo's voice was flat. "State your business." "I did," the man said. "I came to greet your family. And to meet your date." "She's not here," Mateo replied. The man's gaze drifted past him, searching. "People say you brought someone ordinary," he said. "A cafe girl." Mateo didn't blink. "You're mistaken." "Oh." The man tilted his head. "Because I heard you looked at her like she was peace." Mateo's shoulders tightened. "I don't need peace." "Then prove it," the man said lightly. "Call her out. Let everyone see she's nothing." Mateo hesitated, just a breath too long. That pause told me everything. His cruelty would be an act. His silence was real. I stepped forward into the light. Mateo's head snapped toward me. His hand caught my wrist, urgent. "Go inside," he hissed. "No," I said, voice shaking but steady. "I'm not a secret you use when it's convenient." The suited man's smile widened. "There she is," he said, delighted. "The weakness." Mateo shifted, placing himself between me and the gate. "You're done here," he told the man. "And you're emotional," the man replied. "That's new." Mateo's grip loosened. I felt the moment he decided to stop pretending. He released my wrist and stepped forward. "You want proof I'm in control?" Mateo said, voice quiet and lethal. "Here it is." The man lifted his brows. "I'm listening." "If you come near her again," Mateo said, "there will be no negotiation. No warning. I will erase you." The smile faltered. The man behind him shifted, suddenly less bored. Mateo continued, calm as a verdict. "Not because I'm angry. Because I've decided." The suited man forced a laugh. "Threats at a wedding. How poetic." "Not a threat," Mateo said. "A boundary." The suited man backed toward the car, smile brittle. "Enjoy your celebration," he said. "And your mistake." He climbed into the sedan. It rolled away, tires whispering over gravel. Mateo didn't move until it vanished. Then he turned to me and the mask cracked. "Why did you come down?" he asked, low and shaken. "Because I couldn't watch you cut me apart to satisfy him," I said. Mateo's eyes burned. "I would have," he admitted. "To keep you alive." "And now?" I asked. Now his voice broke just slightly. "Now they know where to aim," he whispered. "They know I chose." I stepped closer. "You chose to protect me." He shook his head once. "No," he said. "I chose you." And with that choice, unseen by the laughing guests, Mateo Alvarez set fire to the only shield he'd ever trusted, pretending he didn't have a heart. Behind us, the party music swelled again, oblivious and bright. Mateo's sister was still laughing somewhere under lanterns, still believing this night was only love and vows. Mateo looked toward the house, then back at me like he was measuring the cost he'd just accepted. "Stay close," he said, quieter now. "Not for show. For me, until I get you safely home tonight." We left before dawn, quietly, as if the estate itself were sleeping off its happiness. The car rolled down the gravel drive without headlights for the first few meters, Mateo's instruction to the driver firm but calm. I watched the house recede, lanterns dim, music long gone, vows already settling into memory. Only when the road opened did Mateo speak. "I'm taking you home," he said. "Not your apartment. Somewhere safer." I didn't argue. The night had taken enough from both of us. The place he chose was simple. Stone walls, wide windows, a view of the sea just beginning to gray with morning. No guards at the door. No show. Inside, the air smelled like coffee and clean linen, like a life that didn't need to prove itself. "You can rest here," he said. "I'll be close." "Close how?" I asked. He considered the question. "Present," he said finally. "Not hovering. Not hiding." It felt like a promise shaped to fit us. I slept for a few hours, dreamless and deep. When I woke, sunlight cut across the room. Matteo sat at the small table, sleeves rolled up, phone face down. He looked up as if he'd been waiting for the sound of my breath to change. "You didn't leave," I said. "I said I'd be close." Coffee appeared in my hands before I asked. We drank in silence, watching the water. The world felt oddly intact considering how much had shifted. "They'll test me again," he said eventually. "Not today, but soon." "I know. I won't lie to you," he continued. "Being with me means risk." "I won't pretend otherwise," I said. "But hiding me won't make that risk disappear." He nodded once. "Acceptance, not surrender." Lucia called later. Matteo answered, voice warm. He laughed, actually laughed, when she teased him for leaving early. When he hung up, he looked lighter, like a knot had loosened somewhere he hadn't known how to reach. "She asked if I was happy," he said. "And I said I was learning," he replied. She liked that answer. The day unfolded gently. No threats. No knocks. Just hours that felt earned. We walked the shoreline, shoes in hand, the sea cold and honest around our ankles. "I've been many things," Matteo said, watching the horizon. "A son who learned too fast. A leader who learned too well. A man who survived by deciding first. And now I'm deciding slower," he said. "Because you exist." I stopped walking. "That sounds like a lot to carry." "It is," he said. "But it's real." In the afternoon, a message arrived. Matteo read it, then showed me the screen. One line. Neutral. Informational. The kind of message that acknowledged a boundary without crossing it. "They heard me," he said. "For now," I answered. He met my eyes. "I won't make you smaller to make this easier." "Then don't," I said. "Let me choose with you." That evening, as the sun lowered, Matteo set the phone aside and turned fully toward me. No agenda. No guard. Just a man who had decided to stand where the light reached him. "I won't promise you a quiet life," he said. "But I promise you honesty, presence, and a future I don't hide from." I searched his face for the old armor. It was still there, but it wasn't leading anymore. "I'm not asking you to stop being who you are," I said. "I'm asking you to be someone who can stay." He nodded. "I can stay." Night came softly. We cooked together, simple food, shared tasks. It felt ordinary in the best way, like something worth protecting. Later, when the stars appeared, Matteo took my hand without ceremony. No audience. No strategy. Just choice. "I thought the wedding would fix expectations," he said. "Instead, it fixed my direction." "And what direction is that?" "Forward," he said. "With you." We didn't name it more than that. We didn't need to. Love, in its truest form, didn't demand a speech. It asked for consistency. When I finally prepared to sleep, Matteo paused at the door. "If you want to leave tomorrow," he said, "I'll understand." I shook my head. "I want to wake up and keep choosing." He smiled, not the practice kind. The real one. Morning returned. The sea glittered. The world waited. The wedding didn't change him. The danger didn't break him. Love did. Not by softening his strength, but by giving it a reason. And if stories about choosing love over fear, presence over power, and becoming someone braver than your past resonate with who you are, then you already belong here.